Have you ever wondered if the little things you do each morning could silently harm your health, even if you feel fine? James Carter, 71 years old, living in Pine Hollow, Minnesota, always believed he was living a healthy life. He woke up early to exercise, tended to his vegetable garden, and enjoyed a simple existence. But this morning, everything turned upside down. James suffered a stroke in the middle of his garden and was gone forever. What happened to a man who seemed to have no problems? Today I'll reveal the morning habits overlooked, quietly harming James, and possibly you or your loved ones too. We'll go over 5 dangerous habits that older adults need to ditch. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. That morning in Pine Hollow, Minnesota, the sun had just risen, casting a golden hue over the calm lake near James Carter's house. This 71-year-old man, with his silver hair and steady gait, woke up at 5:30 like clockwork. He loved starting his day in the small kitchen, where the scent of pine from the nearby forest slipped through the cracks of the door. James turned on the old coffee maker, a keepsake from his late wife, Margaret, and poured a large cup. He sipped it slowly, savoring the warm bitterness, not bothering with breakfast. Coffee's enough, he often told himself, convinced his body still had plenty of strength for a day of gardening. Today James wanted to prune the tomato plants in his backyard, his greatest joy since retiring. He put on his straw hat, grabbed his pruning shears, and stepped outside. The air was crisp, the sound of pine needles rustling underfoot blending with the fresh smell of soil. He squatted by the tomato patch, carefully snipping away wilted branches, softly whistling an old tune. For James, the garden wasn't just a hobby. It was how he kept his spirits up after years as a mechanic and losing his wife. But this morning, something he never anticipated struck. While pruning, James suddenly felt a heavy weight in his chest, as if someone were pressing down on him. He stopped, braced his hand on the ground, and breathed heavily. Must be from sitting too long, he thought, standing up to stretch. But right then, his head spun, his vision blurred. He stumbled, flailing for something to hold on to, but grasped only air. His heart raced erratically, a consequence of skipping breakfast and overexerting himself without realizing it. James fell, the shears dropping beside the tomato patch. The garden went still, only the wind whispering through the pines like a quiet farewell. Ellen Harper, the kind neighbor a few houses down, was sweeping leaves in her yard when she heard a faint thud. She glanced over and saw James sprawled in the garden. "James, you okay?" she shouted, but got no reply. She rushed over, her heart pounding in her chest. Up close, she was horrified to see him motionless, his face pale, his breathing stopped. "No, this can't be," she muttered, kneeling to shake him. No response. Reaching for her phone, she called 911, her voice trembling. "Please come quick. James isn't breathing. I don't know what to do." Within 10 minutes, the ambulance siren wailed, shattering Pine Hollow's peace. The emergency team raced in, lifted James onto a stretcher, and pounded his chest. A young nurse tried CPR, but her eyes grew hopeless. The lead doctor, Robert Klein, checked his pulse and sighed. "He's gone. Probably an acute heart attack." Ellen stood there, tears streaming down, unable to believe the man, who brought her cherry tomatoes every summer, was now gone. Word spread like wildfire, from Clara's bakery to the town's little post office. All of Pine Hollow sank into grief. Michael Carter, James's son, was working in Minneapolis when his phone rang. "Ellen, choking up," said Michael, "your dad, he fell in the garden. We couldn't save him." Michael froze, gripping the desk, regret flooding him for not calling his father last week. He sped back to Pine Hollow, his mind a mess. Lily Carter, James's granddaughter, was studying in Duluth when Michael's mom broke the news. She skipped class, drove home crying, recalling how her granddad told war stories by the garden. Family and community reeled, asking James, so full of life, how could he go so suddenly? The answer lies in morning habits he never noticed, and we'll explore them next. As the ambulance siren faded in Pine Hollow, Minnesota, the small town's air grew strangely heavy. James Carter, the 71-year-old, with a gentle smile and a thriving garden, was gone forever. News of his sudden death spread fast, from Ellen Harper's porch to the weathered coffee shop where locals gathered. The community was stunned, No one thought the hearty man who shared his veggies with neighbors could collapse in just an ordinary morning. Ellen Harper, the first to find James, lingered by the tomato patch, her hands trembling around her phone. She couldn't erase the image of him lying still, eyes closed as if asleep. "I talked to him just yesterday," she choked out to Clara, the nearby bakery owner, who rushed over to check. "He promised me some greens." Ellen blamed herself. She should have noticed he was alone in the garden too long. Her grief rippled out, plunging Pine Hollow into sorrow. Michael Carter, James's only son, got the call while at his desk in Minneapolis, over 3 hours from Pine Hollow. When Ellen's shaky voice came through, "Michael, your dad, he didn't make it," it felt like the floor caved in. Michael dropped his coffee, hands shaking too hard to grab his keys. He raced to the highway, heavy with regret. "I meant to call him last week. Why did I put it off?" he wondered, tears blurring his windshield. He recalled James patiently teaching him to fix bikes as a kid, now left with just memories and an unfillable void. Lily Carter, James's granddaughter, was at her dorm in Duluth when her mom called. "Lily, your granddad, he's gone." She froze, the phone slipping from her hand, mind blank. She grabbed her things, drove to Pine Hollow sobbing, remembering summer afternoons by the garden hearing his Vietnam tales or learning to plant squash. "He was always smiling, always strong," she murmured, baffled by his sudden departure. Arriving, she ran to the garden, knelt by the tomatoes where he fell, and wept into her hands. The Pine Hollow community quickly rallied to honor James. That night, neighbors placed violets, his favorite flower, in a small circle on his porch. Clara brought a loaf of rye bread he'd praised. Fred, the store owner, recalled James fixing his truck for free. Whispers filled the air. James was this town's heart. Why'd he leave so soon? No one suspected his simple morning habits, like skipping breakfast or overworking, could end so tragically. The next day, Michael and Lily held a small memorial in James's garden. Michael faced the crowd, voice breaking. "My dad lived fully, but maybe he didn't know how to care for himself." Lily set a tiny plant by the tomatoes, whispering, "I'll keep this garden for you, Grandpa." Family and neighbors realized James's death wasn't just a loss, it was a wake-up call. They started questioning, are our daily habits quietly hurting us? From here, James's story became a push to rethink their lives. James Carter's sudden death didn't just leave pain for his family and Pine Hollow community. It raised a big question: what really happened? After the memorial, Michael and Lily sat in his little kitchen, trying to piece it together. Michael flipped through James's garden notebook, full of planting notes, and spotted something. His dad rarely ate breakfast before gardening. He always said coffee was enough. Michael sighed, glancing at Lily. "That's the first habit we need to examine. Exercising hard on an empty stomach, a routine James kept, possibly costing him his life." Every morning, James kicked off the day with black coffee, then headed straight to the garden, weeding, pruning, or digging. To him it was how he stayed fit. A joy after years as a mechanic. But he didn't realize his body, after a long night without fuel, was fragile. During sleep, our bodies switch to rest mode, metabolism slows and glucose reserves. Fuel for muscles and brain dwindle. For an older man like James, jumping into physical work without breakfast was like pushing a car full throttle with no gas. The fallout could be catastrophic. Lily recalled a chat with her granddad. He said gardening kept him strong. But why was he so tired after? James just laughed it off. Old age, it's normal. But it wasn't normal. The American Heart Association says hard exercise on an empty stomach stresses the heart, especially in older adults with sensitive cardiovascular systems. The day James collapsed, he'd worked nearly an hour without a bite. His heart raced abnormally. Blood pressure spiked, and his body couldn't cope. A silent heart attack struck. For clarity, look at Tom Grayson, James's old friend in Pine Hollow. Tom, a running buff, once crumpled on a trail near the lake after a 5K run without breakfast. "I thought I was fine, but suddenly everything spun, and I went down," he told Michael post-funeral. Local doctor Susan Patel explained, "Without glucose, your body burns fat and muscle, but the heart and brain can't keep up." For seniors, This risks stroke or heart attack. James, gardening on empty, unknowingly put himself in the same danger. Michael wondered, if Dad ate breakfast, would it have changed things? Maybe a light meal, like rye toast with peanut butter or oatmeal, could have given James the energy to work without crashing. Susan Patel advised, just 15 minutes for breakfast protects your heart from unnecessary strain. Nothing fancy. A banana or apple slices from his garden would have kick-started him. Lily vowed to change after losing her granddad. I won't skip breakfast anymore, she told Michael. Recalling how he hid his exhaustion, she now starts with milk and bread, then tends his tomato patch. I want to keep this garden, but stay healthy like he'd want, she whispered, touching the leaves. Pine Hollow followed suit. Ellen Harper packs a granola bar for gardening, and Tom won't run without eating. Exercising hard on an empty stomach seemed harmless, but for James it sparked tragedy. We don't need to ditch morning activity. Just fuel up first. A simple breakfast can shield your heart, especially when age isn't on your side. James didn't know that, but we can learn from him, so no one has to grieve like Michael and Lily do now. After realizing gardening on an empty stomach might have contributed to James Carter's death, Michael and Lily kept digging through memories for more clues. In his small Pine Hollow, Minnesota kitchen, Lily suddenly recalled, Grandpa often got dizzy standing up fast, but he said it was just old age. Michael nodded, remembering times James wobbled after sitting long, then jumping up for the garden. That's the second habit to note, standing up too fast, a seemingly minor act that might have quietly played a role in his fateful morning. James usually rose early, drank coffee, and got right to work. But some days he'd rest on the wooden porch chair, gazing at the garden, then spring up when he remembered a task, like pruning or weeding. He didn't notice how his body reacted each time. His head spun, hands trembled slightly. Just stand still a sec, and it passes, he'd tell Lily when she asked. But that morning he collapsed, standing up abruptly from squatting by the tomatoes after a long stretch might have tipped his body into peril. To Dr. Susan Patel, who'd treated many Pine Hollow folks, explained this when Michael sought her out post-funeral. It's orthostatic hypotension, postural blood pressure, she said, voice low. Standing up fast means blood doesn't reach the brain from the legs quick enough, especially in older people. Blood pressure drops suddenly, causing dizziness or falls. For James, his aging cardiovascular system, plus skipping breakfast, left him unable to adjust when he stood mid-gardening. That day he might have lost balance right before falling, Susan speculated. Lily recalled another time, months back. James was fixing her old bike outside, then stood for tools. He swayed, grabbed the wall, chuckling. Old man now, legs lag behind my head. Lily worried, but he brushed it off. Fine in a bit. She wished she'd pushed him to see a doctor then. Susan confirmed, at 71 the body's not as nimble. Standing fast forces the heart to pump harder, but if blood pressure's unstable, it can mean fainting, or worse, like James. Michael had seen it too. When Dad was alive, I saw him flop back into a chair once after standing too quick. I thought it was nothing. Now he knew those nothings piled up, worsened by no breakfast, making James vulnerable. Susan suggested avoiding it. Stand up slowly. On waking, lie a few minutes, stretch, then sit up. When standing, pause before walking. She stressed, a few seconds patience can save your life. It wasn't just James. Ellen Harper, his neighbor, once told Michael, my mom Dorothy broke her arm, standing up fast from the couch here in Pine Hollow. Doc said slowing down would have spared her the hospital. For seniors, brittle bones and weaker muscles mean a dizzy fall can cause big injuries, or like James, sudden death. I wish I'd told James to take it easy. Ellen sighed. Lily resolved to change after this loss. From now on, I'll stand up slow, like Grandpa should have, she told Michael, eyes teary. She started mornings easing out of bed, breathing deep before standing. Michael followed, noticing he'd ignored his own mild dizzy spells. Dad didn't know this was risky, but we can dodge it, he said, gazing at James's garden. Standing up too fast seemed harmless, but for James it was a link in the chain to tragedy. We don't need to ditch morning routines, just slow down. A bit of patience can keep you safe, sparing the regrets James's family now carries. Remember, health doesn't come free, it needs attention, second by second. Exploring James Carter's risky morning habits didn't stop at skipping breakfast or standing too fast. In his little Pine Hollow, Minnesota home, Michael and Lily kept sifting through memories to learn more. One evening, over hot tea at the kitchen table, Michael recalled Dad used to complain about tough bathroom trips, but he never bothered changing anything. Lily nodded, adding he'd joke that's old age. But once I saw him leave the bathroom red-faced, that's the third habit, straining hard in the bathroom. A seemingly normal act that might have silently brought James closer to disaster. James wasn't one to talk health, especially private stuff. But Michael remembered him letting slip. Some mornings he'd say he sat in there forever, and it wasn't fun. He ate little veggies, favoring white bread and meat over garden salads or fruit. The result was constipation, a years-long issue he shrugged off. The morning he collapsed, James might have started in the bathroom, straining hard to relieve it, unaware of the immense pressure he put on his body. Dr. Susan Patel, hearing Michael's account, shook her head with concern. Straining spikes chest pressure. It's called the Valsalva effect, she explained. It blocks blood to the heart, cuts oxygen to the brain, and jacks up blood pressure fast. For someone older like James, that's a huge risk. She stressed if he was already weak from no breakfast, standing up quick, then straining before gardening. His heart was a ticking time bomb. James didn't see how this habit, paired with others, could trigger a heart attack or stroke, exactly what hit him. Lily was stunned, recalling Ruth Carter, James's aunt, who died years ago. Mom said Aunt Ruth had a stroke in the bathroom, she told Michael, eyes wide. Yeah. They blamed old age, but now I bet she strained like Grandpa. Susan agreed, right. In seniors, blood vessels lose elasticity. Straining pressure can burst artery plaques, causing strokes or brain bleeds. James, with his low-fiber diet and digestive neglect, unknowingly set himself up for the same fate. Michael fretted, if Dad ate more veggies, could he have dodged this? Susan nodded, maybe. A fiber-rich diet, greens, apples, beans, makes bathroom trips easy, no straining. She added, drink water, sit right, a small stool under your feet helps. It cuts pressure. Don't linger or force it. James had a whole garden, but rarely ate from it. Irony, his family now rude. Ellen Harper, James's neighbor, had her own tale. I got hemorrhoids from straining, she admitted to Lily. Since adding veggies and water, no more trouble. She wished she'd shared this with James sooner. He loved tomatoes. Why not eat them instead of just growing? She wondered, voice sad. This small habit tweak might have spared him undue strain on his heart and vessels. Lily swore not to repeat her granddad's mistake. From now on, I'll eat veggies daily, she told Michael, grabbing an apple from the table basket. She began mornings with warm water and greens, steering clear of James's fiber-poor meals. Michael shifted too. I'll make sure our family pays attention. No one suffers like Dad. He recalled Susan's words. A few minutes caring for digestion slashes big risks. Straining hard in the bathroom feels private, no big deal. But for James it was a link in his chain of risky habits. We don't need to shy away, just tweak diet, posture, and routine. James didn't catch this lesson in time, but Michael, Lily, and we can. Don't let health slip away over a minute's neglect. As Michael and Lily continued dissecting James Carter's morning habits in the house in Pine Hollow, Minnesota, another detail emerged from their memories. Grandpa loved coffee so much, Lily said, pointing to the old coffee maker on the kitchen counter, a relic from Grandma Margaret. Michael nodded. Dad drank at least 2 or 3 cups every morning, sometimes more. That's the fourth habit, drinking too much coffee in the morning. A small joy for James, but one that might have quietly increased the strain on his heart, contributing to his sudden death. James started each day with black coffee. No sugar, no milk. He loved its bold bitterness, saying it kept him alert for garden work. The morning he collapsed, he poured a full cup too, sipping it before grabbing his pruning shears for the garden. But he didn't know that caffeine, though a familiar companion, could turn into an enemy for an older man like him. Michael recalled, once Dad said his heart raced after drinking, but he thought it was from working hard. This habit, combined with skipping breakfast, standing up fast, and straining hard, pushed James's body into a dangerous state. Dr. Susan Patel, hearing Lily recount her granddad's routine, explained caffeine speeds up the heart and constricts blood vessels, raising blood pressure instantly. For older folks, this is risky, especially on an empty stomach. She pointed out, James drank lots of coffee without eating. His heart was overworked from the get-go. The day he passed, the caffeine might have thrown his heart into chaos, paired with his other habits, leading to a heart attack. Just cutting back to 1 cup, or switching to tea, could have made a difference. Susan sighed. Lily remembered a time James downed 3 cups while chatting with her on the porch. He laughed and said coffee made him young again. She told Michael, eyes teary. But then he stood up, wobbled a bit, and grabbed the chair. I thought he was tired, but now I get it. Research from the American Heart Association shows too much caffeine in people over 65 raises the risk of irregular heartbeats, especially with exercise or stress. James, with 3 cups each morning, unknowingly, thrust himself into danger. Michael agonized. I saw Dad's hands shake after drinking a lot, but no one said anything. He wished he'd urged James to cut back, swap it for water or herbal tea. Susan suggested, a small cup's fine, but don't overdo it. Chamomile or mint tea's gentler on the heart. She stressed, balance matters. Don't let a favorite habit burden your body. James could have kept his morning joy without harm, if only he'd known. Ellen Harper, James's neighbor, had a similar experience. I used to drink 2 cups every morning, but my doctor said my heart was weakening. She told Lily, now I've switched to green tea. Feel way better. Ellen regretted. James loved coffee too much. I should have told him to try something else. This small tweak might have spared him unnecessary heart strain, especially with his other risk factors piling up. Lily resolved to change. I won't drink more than 1 cup anymore, she told Michael, setting her granddad's coffee maker aside. She tried herbal tea each morning, feeling the lightness James never did. Michael agreed. I'll cut back too, so we don't repeat Dad's story. He looked out at the garden, thinking Dad loved coffee, but we've got to choose health. Drinking too much morning coffee seemed like harmless fun, but for James, it was another link in his chain of dangerous habits. We don't need to ditch it entirely. Just know the limit. 1 cup, or a tea substitute, can keep you awake without trading away health. James didn't realize in time, but we can learn from him. So every morning's a safe start, not a gamble. As Michael and Lily kept reflecting on James Carter's life in the Pine Hollow, Minnesota house, they realized the dangerous habits weren't just surface level. After the coffee overload, another detail jolted them. Grandpa never went to the doctor, Lily said, looking at Michael with worried eyes. Michael nodded, voice low. Dad always said he was fine, didn't need a doctor. That's the 5th habit, skipping regular health checkups. A quiet mistake that might have hidden serious issues, leading to James's sudden death. James was confident in his health. He'd survived war, worked decades as a mechanic, and gardened daily without much sickness. Doctors are for the weak, he joked to Lily 2 years back when she urged him to get checked. He disliked hospitals, the antiseptic smell, machine hums, and test papers irked him. Michael recalled, the last time Dad saw a doctor was probably 6 or 7 years ago, when Mom forced him. After that, James ignored all nudges, trusting his body was fine, until that fateful morning. The Dr. Susan Patel, hearing Michael's story, shook her head with regret. Older folks like James need a checkup at least yearly, she said. Heart disease, high blood pressure, or diabetes often show no clear signs until it's too late. For James, skipping breakfast, standing fast, straining, and heavy coffee already taxed his heart. But a simple exam could have caught early trouble, like artery plaque or odd rhythms, and stopped the tragedy. James might have lived longer if he'd gotten checked, Susan affirmed. Lily ached, recalling begging her granddad to see a doctor. I saw him tired after gardening, told him to get checked, but he chuckled. I'm strong as an ox. She wished she'd been firmer, dragged him to a clinic despite his protests. Michael blamed himself too. I noticed Dad coughing a lot one winter, but when I asked, he said it was just a cold. I didn't push, thinking he knew best. Now they saw James's confidence mask warnings only a doctor could spot. James's story isn't unique. Ellen Harper, his neighbor, told Lily, my husband Bill hated doctors too. When he got sick, we found out he had severe high blood pressure. If he'd gone sooner, he wouldn't have suffered. Susan added, one checkup can measure blood pressure, cholesterol, and heart health, stuff that saves lives. With James, we don't know what he had, but something was brewing. He could have stayed healthier, had he not skipped early detection chances. Michael gazed at James's garden, heart heavy. If Dad had gone, would I still hear his voice daily? Susan suggested, from 65 up, yearly checks are a must. An hour at the clinic can change everything. She advised, don't shy from doctors, don't wait for symptoms. Prevention beats cure. James had a whole life ahead, with Lily, Michael, and the garden, but lost it to overconfidence. Lily vowed to change after this loss. I'll get regular checkups from now on, she told Michael, holding his hand. She booked an appointment that week, unwilling to echo her granddad's error. Michael agreed, I'll take the whole family too. Dad didn't, but we'll do better. He remembered Susan's words, checkups are a gift to yourself and your family. Pine Hollow caught on too. Ellen now nudges neighbors to get checked, using James as a lesson. Skipping regular health checkups seemed trivial. But for James, it was the final piece in his risky habit puzzle. We don't need to fear doctors. Just take time to listen to our bodies. James didn't catch that in time, but Michael and Lily did. One visit could be the line between thriving and regret. What'll you choose for yourself? After unraveling James Carter's 5 dangerous morning habits, skipping breakfast, standing up fast, straining hard, drinking too much coffee, and avoiding checkups, Michael and Lily sat in the Pine Hollow, Minnesota house with a deeper concern. Grandpa left us the garden, but didn't take care of himself, Lily said, running her hand over James's old coffee maker. Michael nodded. Dad lived full out but didn't plan ahead. James's death wasn't just a loss. It was a wake-up call. A health legacy his family and community began to recognize and learn from. James loved his garden more than anything. He taught Lily to grow tomatoes, zucchini, and make salads from homegrown veggies. Eating greens is good for you, sweetheart. He'd grin, handing her a ripe tomato. But ironically, he rarely ate them, preferring white bread, bacon, and coffee. Lily remembered mornings he'd head to the garden, coffee in hand, instead of a snack. I wish he'd cared for himself, like he did the garden, she told Michael. Eyes welling up, James could have lived longer to watch Lily grow, had he followed his own advice. Michael wrestled with it too. Dad always told me living healthy means living happy, but he didn't lead by example, he said. He'd shared Vietnam War stories, overcoming hardship, making Michael think James was invincible. But now he knew, health isn't automatic. It needs nurturing. James's death, a heart attack from piled-up habits, showed Michael he wasn't unbeatable, just neglectful. If Dad had gotten checked, eaten breakfast, cut the coffee, I'd still have him here, he sighed, eyeing the now quiet garden, without James. Dr. Susan Patel, who'd analyzed James's passing, told the family, health isn't just personal, it's the legacy you leave. She explained, James didn't go from one habit, it was years of neglect combined, but his story can save others. Susan urged, turn this loss into motivation, care for yourselves, so no one else suffers like you. Her words hit Michael and Lily. They couldn't fix the past, but could shape the future from James's legacy. Lily chose action. I'll keep Grandpa's garden, but I've got to be healthy to do it, she said, picking a tomato from his patch. She began mornings with fiber-rich breakfasts, oatmeal, greens, not just coffee like James. She booked regular checkups too, avoiding his mistakes. I want him proud, not regretful, she whispered, planting a new veggie row. Lily saw health as her way to honor James, living long and well, as he should have. Michael shifted too. I won't let our family lose another to carelessness, he told Lily, resting a hand on her shoulder. He started light morning jogs after eating, cut coffee to 1 cup, and pushed his wife and kids for checkups. Dad didn't care for himself, but I'll do it for us, he resolved. Michael realized health wasn't just a personal gift, but peace for loved ones, something James couldn't give him, and Lily. Pine Hollow felt the ripple too. Post-funeral, Ellen Harper held a small workshop at the local church, inviting Susan Patel to talk senior health. James was my friend. I don't want anyone else to go like him. Ellen choked out to start. Folks brought violets, placing them on a table for James. Susan shared, eat breakfast, stand slow, mind digestion, cut coffee, get checked. These 5 can change your life. The town began shifting, from Fred at the store to Clara at the bakery. all determined not to repeat James's errors. James's health legacy isn't the garden he left, it's the lesson of his death. Michael and Lily turned pain into action, living healthier to carry on what he cherished. Pine Hollow learned health is the ultimate treasure, for yourself, family, and community. James is gone, but his legacy endures, not in regret, but in the positive changes he unknowingly sparked. James was a man of integrity. Once, a few years back, a logging company came to Pine Hollow, offering to buy the land behind his house for a project expansion. They promised tens of thousands of dollars, enough for James to live comfortably to the end. Sure, but he refused. Sure, yes, pine forest is the town's breath. Not for sale, he told Michael, when asked why. James loved his garden, but he loved the community more. He believed preserving nature was his duty, even if it meant living simply on a modest pension. He taught me to live not just for myself, Lily whispered, recalling that story. Michael remembered wisdom lessons from James. As a kid, James took him to the backyard, teaching him to fix bikes and save money from odd jobs. Earn honestly, keep it wisely, that's how to live, he said, pointing to a wooden savings box Michael made. But as Michael grew, he squandered, buying new cars, spending recklessly, ignoring his father's words. I wish I'd listened to Dad sooner, he told Lily, eyeing the now dusty box in the corner. James left no big fortune, but he left lessons in honesty and management, things Michael only now valued. Michael decided to carry on his father's intellectual legacy. Dad taught me to earn by my own hands. I'll teach my kids, he said, wiping clean the old savings box. He started budgeting the family's money, saving instead of spending, and told his son about his granddad. Dad didn't leave cash, but he left a way of life, he told Lily. He realized true worth wasn't in wealth, but in the independence and wisdom James passed down, something he'd once overlooked. Lily acted on her granddad's ethics too. I won't sell this land, no matter the offer, she said, gazing at the pine forest James protected. She took a part-time job at Clara's bakery, earning honestly, as he taught. I want to help Pine Hollow, like he did, she smiled, sharing garden veggies with neighbors. Lily understood living right wasn't just words, but deeds, a legacy James left through his life. After the health workshop honoring James, Pine Hollow held a community day. Everyone planted pine trees around town, inspired by his integrity. James didn't just leave a garden, he left a spirit, Elin said, holding a watering bucket. Susan Patel added, his ethics and wisdom remind us to live meaningfully. The town pledged to live honestly, helping each other, a legacy beyond material things. James's moral and intellectual legacy wasn't money, but how he lived, upright, wise, and loving. Michael and Lily turned those lessons into action, preserving Pine Hollow, as he'd wished. James is gone, but his spirit endures, in every pine tree, every teaching, and every right choice. His family and community carry forward. When Michael and Lily began absorbing James Carter's legacies of health, ethics, and wisdom, they didn't just want to live differently. They wanted to revisit his life. In the small Pine Hollow, Minnesota house, Lily sat on the wooden porch chair where James once rested, holding his old pruning shears. Grandpa was my whole world, she said, staring far off at the garden. Michael stood beside her, looking at the pines he'd saved, adding, Dad was the strongest man I knew, even if I didn't always get him. Remembering James wasn't just pain. It was how they kept him alive in their hearts. Lily recalled summer afternoons by the garden beds. James taught her to make kites from bamboo and old newspapers. His calloused hands deftly tying knots. Fly high, like your dreams, he'd laugh, launching the kite over Pine Hollow's sky with her. She remembered the damp soil smell. His voice recounting Vietnam War days, surviving on grit and camaraderie. He told me to be strong, but now I see he was weakening, and I didn't know. She choked out to Michael. Those memories now fueled her to live healthier, as he'd hoped. Michael thought back to childhood with James. He'd take him to the backyard, fixing bikes for neighborhood kids. Work with your hands, work with your heart, James said, tightening bolts, sweat rolling down his brow. Michael remembered his first ride without falling. James patting his shoulder proudly. You did it with patience. But he also recalled winters, when James coughed by the fireplace, still refusing checkups. I wish I'd seen Dad needed help sooner, he said, voice low. James was tough, but stubbornness hid the cracks in his health. The family once gathered around James for Labor Day. She'd an American tradition he adored. He'd host a backyard barbecue, the scent of bacon and grilled tomatoes wafting through. Nothing beats a meal together, he'd grin, pouring coffee for all, sole a habit he wouldn't quit. Lily remembered him sharing tales of fixing neighbors' cars for free, voice warm. Helping others helps you. Michael recalled him standing up fast, after eating to grab more wood, wobbling but dismissing it. She'd him fine. Those moments are now sweet memories, but also reminders of habits he didn't fix. James wasn't just a father or grandfather, he was Pine Hollow's soul. Ellen Harper once told Lily, "Your granddad fixed my truck in the rain, no charge." Fred from the store recalled James bringing veggies when he was sick. He lived like a pine, sturdy, sheltering, Fred said, but Lily and Michael knew that pine had fallen, not from wind, but from inner wounds he hid. I wish I'd cared for him more, Lily whispered, clutching the shears. Michael gazed at the garden, recalling their last talk. Dad told me to live worthily, let no one look down on me, he shared with Lily. He left no money, but left pride and love, things Michael now cherished most. I'll tell my kids about him, so they remember, he said, eyes red. James wasn't perfect, but he was real. He from battlefields to repair shops, to the garden he loved. Reflecting on James, Michael and Lily found not just pain but strength. Grandpa lived fully, flaws and all, Lily said, rising from the chair. She looked at the garden, silently vowing to keep it thriving. He from not just with hands, but with the health and ethics he'd passed down. Michael nodded, Shivlan bad done, but left a lifetime to learn from. James's life, with its joys, mistakes and love, was a guiding light, urging them to live more meaningfully each day. When Michael and Lily closed their journey revisiting James Carter's life, from dangerous habits to legacies of health, ethics, wisdom, and cherished memories, they stood in the Pine Hollow, Minnesota garden, feeling both sorrow and hope. Grandpa didn't just leave a garden, he left a life lesson, Lily said, holding a ripe tomato from his patch. Michael nodded, eyeing the pines he'd saved. Dad's gone but taught us to live better. James's story doesn't end in regret. It opens a call to action for family, community, and you. Watching this video, James fell from 5 morning habits: gardening on empty, standing too fast, straining in the bathroom, drinking excess coffee, and skipping checkups. Those small things, seemingly harmless, built up silently, taking his life. But from that loss, Michael and Lily changed. Lily stopped skipping breakfast, eating oatmeal and veggies daily, rising slowly, tending digestion, cutting coffee, and scheduling checkups. I want to live healthy to keep his garden, she said, eyes bright. Michael did too, light jogs after breakfast, 1 coffee max, and family checkups. I won't let anyone suffer like Dad, he vowed. Pine Hollow didn't stand by either. After the health workshop and tree planting day for James, folks acted. Ellen Harper eats before gardening now. Fred at the store cuts coffee, and Clara from the bakery got her first checkup in years. James showed us health can't be taken lightly, Ellen said, watering a new pine. Local doc Susan Patel stressed, small shifts, breakfast, slow standing, less caffeine checkups, protect you and your loved ones. The town turned pain into power, driven by James. But James's legacy isn't just health. His ethics and wisdom, integrity and refusing to sell land, teaching honest earnings, inspired deeply. Lily kept his land, working part-time to stand on her own. I won't sell the pines, like he wanted, she said, sharing garden veggies as he did. Michael taught his son to save and work by hand, as James taught him. Dad left no money, but a proud way to live, he said, setting the old savings box on the table. Pine Hollow learned from him, kindness, honesty, unity. Now it's your turn. James's story isn't just for his family. It's a wake-up call for us all. Do you skip breakfast, rush to stand, guzzle coffee, or delay checkups? Those habits might be quietly hurting you, like they did James. Don't wait till it's too late. Start today. Eat a light breakfast, a banana, some bread, rise slowly, mind digestion, cut caffeine, book a checkup. A few minutes daily can save you, Susan Patel said, and we believe it. James Carter's tale in Pine Hollow, Minnesota, mirrors a common truth in today's busy U.S. life. We often neglect health and personal values for familiar habits or overconfidence. James, with his skipped breakfast, quick rises, bathroom straining, coffee overload, and no checkups, stands for many modern Americans chasing jobs, Starbucks runs, and fast living while forgetting self-care. In the U.S., where hustle culture is king, skipping breakfast to save time or downing 3 coffees to stay sharp isn't rare. But as James fell amid his tomatoes, the cost of carelessness can be life itself, a warning for millions living with unseen heart strain, as CDC stats show heart disease tops death causes. The lesson from James isn't just health. He refused to sell land to loggers, taught Michael to save, fix neighbors' cars free, rare ethics and wisdom in today's consumer-driven U.S., where profit often trumps community. Apply this instead of trends. Take 15 minutes for breakfast like Lily's oatmeal. Stand slow as Michael learned, and get checkups. Something 62% of Americans over 65 skip, per AARP. Cherish family like James's Labor Day barbecues. Live honestly as he did. That's how you build a healthy, meaningful life, not just for you but the next generation, amid today's hectic U.S. pace. If you want more lessons to live healthier and more meaningfully, subscribe to the channel today. Thanks for joining us, and see you in the next video.